Well, guys, once again, good evening. Welcome to our session. Before we actually start, just to refresh your memory a little bit, someone is waiting. Yes. Guys, yesterday, one of the things that I told you was that, well, we need to start organizing to know how we will be working during the speaking exam. Well, let me choose the link again. I don't want any mistakes. Guys, the idea is pretty simple. You are going to choose the group. Let's say the group that you will be working on. This is the link. Ahora todos ingresaron casi el tiempo. I want to say this in Spanish. La idea es muy sencilla. Ustedes escogen básicamente el grupo, la parte obviamente es individual, la parte de la individual en términos de la nota, a lo que quiero llegar. Es como para los estudiantes nuevos para que lo tengan presente. Ustedes simplemente colocan su nombre. En algunos casos pues ya hay como grupos formados, ya hay ciertas personas que les gusta trabajar con cierto grupo y pues perfecto. Personas que les da simplemente lo mismo y pues me parece perfecto. Reitero mucho que la evaluación es individual. Recuerden que en la carpeta que les compartí con los materiales está la rúbrica para que tengan presente cuáles son los aspectos. Nos estamos adelantando. Mi idea simplemente es como por que nos empecemos a organizar porque bueno, hay mucho por hacer. Eventualmente ustedes tendrán que seguir con la parte casi final, por decirlo así, de lo que es el proyecto. Viene el examen, ya están todos habilitados oficialmente en el aula virtual. Entonces, pareciera que una semana es bastante, pero la próxima semana a esta hora estaremos en lo del speech. Entonces, primer detalle a aclarar es eso. La próxima semana les contaré un poco más en detalle los parámetros, obviamente lo que son tema y preguntas, pues van hasta el viernes. De aquí a mañana, viernes, si de pronto hay estudiantes que aún faltan por colocar su nombre, yo los organizo, ¿listo? Yo los pongo, los cojo en la lista y los escribo ahí. Nombres completos, por favor, no solo primer nombre. Por si de pronto ustedes dicen, no, pero no, se me olvidó, se me pasó, simplemente coloco el nombre y ya. Lo que les digo, igual la nota es individual. Well, I see that most of you are already writing your name down. Great. For the ones that are left, I will put your name there. And of course, then you can't edit this file. And then like from tomorrow on, you will know the people you will be working in for this specific part. In every single speaking part, I always ask you like to fill in this chart. Probably there are some cases that you want to change and that's just perfect. Okay. Guys, I would like to know if you have any questions from this part in particular before I take attendance. Okay. Don't forget, you have until tomorrow to decide, or I'll decide for you. Okay. I'm going to take attendance so we can begin with tonight's topic. We officially start Unit 3. 23rd. Saray Acevedo.
Present, teacher.
Okay. Cristian Albarracín.
Present, teacher.
Okay. Andrés Álvarez. Bueno, creo que está a punto de ingresar. Yeah, I'm taking attendance in this precise moment. I was calling Andrés Álvarez.
Hi, teacher. Sorry.
Don't worry. Joely Ayala.
Present, teacher.
Okay. Andrea Vaca.
Present, teacher.
Okay. Gilbert Cárdenas.
I'm here.
Okay. John Carrero.
Present, teacher. Good evening.
Hello. Brian Cordero.
Hello, teacher. Good evening.
Hello. Stephanie Córdoba.
Present, teacher.
Okay. Silvia Durán.
Present, teacher.
Okay. Freddy Fonseca.
Yeah.
Okay. Julie Liscano.
I'm here, teacher.
Okay. Diana Lisette Lozada.
Hi, teacher. I'm here.
There you are. Daniela Lozada.
Present, teacher.
Okay. Andrea Juliana Muñoz.
Here, teacher.
Okay. Natalie Joana Pérez.
Here, teacher.
Okay. Mayra Juliet Pinzón.
Present, teacher.
Very good. Mayra Alejandra Plata.
Hi, teacher. Present.
Hello. Nice. Harold David Rodríguez.
Hi, teacher.
Hello. Angélica Stephanie Sandoval.
Hi, teacher.
There you are. Daniela Fernanda Sierra.
Hi, teacher.
Hey, Daniela. Ana María Velasco.
Hi, teacher. I'm here.
Very good, Ana. And Jennifer Jimena Pera.
Here.
Okay, very good. Well, mini problems with the sound, but in general aspects, perfect. Okay, guys, so let me go back here to the presentation. In this case, we are talking about Unit 3. As I was telling you, we officially start our Unit 3. Of course, having a look at the book, that would be pages 26 and 27. Usually when we start a new unit, in some cases, we work on a skill. In some cases, we work on different aspects of, let's say, the linguistic component. Could be language, could be vocabulary. Today we will have a look at some grammar, okay? Well, actually, we have been working on grammar a lot. In this unit, we share the different topics that we will be studying. In terms of grammar, we will be talking about narrative tenses. The good thing I dare to say about the narrative tenses is that we are talking about, different combinations that you already know. We'll see in a moment about that. Continuous aspects in other tenses, we will also have a look at that grammatical part. In terms of vocabulary, we will work on mishaps, crime and punishment. It is a kind of connection that we make to a topic that some of you already studied in the previous cycle. The task is about tell a story from 2 points of view. And language life will eventually be about dealing with unexpected problems, okay? So just, to give you like a general idea of what this Unit 3 is going to be about. So the first aspect is talking about mishaps. Guys, do you remember or like a synonym for this word, mishaps? What would that be?
No, teacher.
And you can say no, maybe some help from our classmates.
I can, how can I say error? Como, no sé, algo así. No estoy segura.
Like
Como
a mistake.
accidentes, como
Yeah, like
percances.
that would be the idea, like, yes.
Trouble.
Very good. We're talking about like a minor problem. It's not like a comfortable situation, but we are not talking about something that is way too complicated. A kind of, let's say, problem or situation that may happen. As you already noticed, the first part of our Unit 3, we're talking about different vocabulary related to mishaps. And here we have some expressions or some situations to take into account. We're going to read them, of course. And there are 14 possibilities. While we read them, I invite you guys to choose one of them that had happened to you. But of course, we're going to read them all first. There are 14. The division is not a problem. Daniela Lozada, please, could you read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
Okay, teacher. Number 1, you lose your keys and lock yourself out. Number 2, you get stuck in a traffic and miss an appointment. Number 3, you sleep on some ice. Number 4, you trip and fall over. Number 5, you get on the wrong train.
Very good. Well, just like a disclosure agreement, we can use in the case of number 5 other type of transportation, you know, not necessarily train. Probably some of you have already taken a train in your lives, but just in case, let's like make it a little bit more general. We can talk about bus and it is okay. Let's have a look now from 6, 7, 8, and 9, and of course 10. Please, I'm going to ask Gilbert. Gilbert. Well. Okay, Gilbert. Well, I know that you use like to, let's say accounts. I thought that I was asking the one that is like working, but keep that in mind. Sarai, I haven't heard your voice. 6 to 10.
You get confused and make a mistake. Your car breaks down. You bang your head. You get lost and you spill paint on your clothes.
That would be it. Brian, you raise your hand.
Yes, teacher. The fourth and the three fall over. The seven, your car breaks down.
But excuse me,
And
Brian, what do you mean?
there was the things that happened to me.
Okay, but not for the moment, Brian. We are just like reading all of them. Like I haven't asked you to choose yet. We are reading all the situations, okay? Keep the idea like on hold for a moment. And we have from 11 to 14. Sylvia, please.
You run out of help. You oversleep and miss your train. You drop something valuable and break it, and you borrow something without asking a damage it.
That would be it. Well, guys, once again, remember that there are 14 situations. You're going to choose only one that has happened to you. Once again, remember that this vocabulary, we have it on our books. I'm like reminding you that because I'm going to change to the following slide. Guys, I'm gonna send you this link. This first part is going to be done individually. And the idea is that you're going to answer these questions about that mishap that you had to face, you know? Make sure that you use complete ideas and not only phrases. Something that I want to clarify as well before I send you the link is that, let's say that this is like the brainstorming part of the activity. I don't want you to write any story yet. For the moment, the idea is that you write like general ideas, like something very precise, you know, straight to the point. Don't get to details yet. So first, the mishap, the one that you chose from the previous list. When did it happen? Where did it happen? What were you doing when it happened? And how did you solve it? For the moment, the idea that you are going to answer these 4 questions about that mishap that happened to you. I'm gonna send you the link to the chat. I'm going to share with you, we haven't done this for a while, this image. So you guys know the slide that you will be working on. Guys, as you will already notice, we have more students. That means that probably the slide that you used to use is not the same from the previous cycle. I'm going to say something crazy. Maybe you said, okay, my slide is always number 10. Now in this cycle, your slide is number 12. So don't take for granted like the slide that you've been using during B1.2 and 3 is the same that the one for tonight because it is going to be a different one. So guys, the first thing to do is to write down your name so we avoid confusions, you know, and then you complete the chart. Remember the mishap, when it happened, where it happened, what were you doing when it happened, and how you solved it. Of course, notice that because we're talking about an event that already happened in your lives, I'm expecting you to use past tenses, okay? Guys, questions?
No, teacher.
No,
Teacher,
teacher.
Yes, tell me.
Could you show again the phrases, please?
Share again the mishaps, the problems.
Yes,
Yes.
teacher, please.
Okay. There you have. If you want, take a screenshot because I want like to share this the image with the names and the number of the slide.
Sorry, teacher, can anyone send the link through WhatsApp, please?
Right, yes, please. Guys, send it through WhatsApp.
Teacher, it's only one meter.
Only one, yeah. Probably, well, as you know, Brian was telling a few minutes ago, you have actually lived some of them, but choose only one.
Thank you, teacher.
Okay. Well, guys, can I change this slide to put the one with the names and the number? I'm going to change it. Okay, thank you.
Teacher, sorry, can you please share the screen in the part on we where stay the meet chats?
I'm
Please.
gonna share it again.
Thank you.
Thanks. Well, Sarah is already in the first one, Christian on the second, Andre, Joely, Andrea, Gilbert. Let me check. Okay, John already told me. That will be number 7. Let's continue, let's continue. Number 8. No está. Well, Brian hasn't written his name. Number 9 is Stephanie, Silvia, Reddy, Judy, Diana Lozada, Vera Juliana, Natalia, Mayra, Harold, Angelica, Elena Fernanda, Ana Maria, and Jennifer. Okay. Only 2 names missing, so I can officially once again project the list of mishaps. I'm already doing it. Well, guys, I know that you have already started writing down some ideas. I'm gonna give you 5 extra minutes. Remember that we're talking about, for the moment, very general aspects. Don't go on extra details. That is what we will be doing eventually during the development of the session. I don't want to interrupt you anymore. 5 more minutes, starting now. Like a lot of them, but just choose one. We are brainstorming. Why not? Well, Sarah, let's see one that is already finished. Christian, could you read your answers from your Mishap? I'm going to have a look at 5 of you guys. So read yours, please. Christian. Well, I guess that Christian just left. I'm going to have a look at his answers anyway. His mishap was that he got on the wrong train. It was in 2021 between July and September. On the bus station of Metrolinea, he was listening to music and waiting for the bus. How did he solve it? Well, he had to get out of the bus and take another one. That was the solution. Okay. Let's have a look at Joely. Joely, could you read your answers, please?
Okay. I get stuck in a traffic and miss an appointment. It happened on February 8th. It happened about 2 blocks before I arrived at the hospital, and I was in a car waiting for the traffic to pass. I couldn't solve it because I lost that one. But when I arrived, I had to make another appointment.
Okay, Joely, thank you very much. Well, this one is blank. Who's number 8? Number 8. Ryan. Ryan, are you here? Ryan.
Tell me, teacher.
Well, you did it right down. Well, I don't know, probably you can't edit the slide, but did you take any notes of the answers of the questions?
Teacher, I'm joining now because I am in my cell phone and I need to work in my PC.
Okay, no problem. Well, in those cases, you know, just like for future reference, if you want to take notes, but and then you pass them, that's fine. But don't worry. Let me see. 11. Okay. Freddy, what about yours?
Okay. Mishap, I got lost in a foreign country. When did it happen? It happened in the middle of the year, 2018. Where did it happen? It was in Porto Alegre, Brazil. What were you doing when it happened? I was looking for the building where the conference was taking place. How did you solve it? I started to check the Google Maps app on my phone to follow a specific route.
From good to Google. And let's have a look at one more. Daniela Fernanda.
I bench my head. I bench my head. When did it happen? 1 year ago. Where did it happen? I was on a water pool in my grandmother's house. And what were you doing when it happened? I was trying to do a dip in the water pool, like clavado, teacher, dip in. And how did you solve it? Of course, I didn't solve it, only I hurt my lips. So I need to drink water with salt for stop the blood.
With salt? What is this? Well, I don't know what that is.
Here escribí mal, sal.
Okay, yeah, because well, you guys, engineers and stuff, you know, they're like ingredients and chemicals. I would just study law actually, but well, you could know more like chemicals. Okay. So I need it. Make sure to make it into past. This one. Okay, guys, very good. Remember that for the moment, this activity that you're doing here is to brainstorm. because this information is going to be, let's say, essential for the almost final part of the session. We're going to go back to the book. Well, actually, we haven't really used it for the moment. We have a listening exercise in here that is actually pretty helpful. And it is going to be, let's say, the lead or the first, why not, activity that is going to take us to our grammatical component of the night, which is narrative sentences. Let's have a look at the instruction of exercise 3.1. Stephanie, please, could you read it?
The questions?
Well, the whole
Oh, yeah.
instruction. Listen to
Okay.
it.
Listen, listen to Claire, Luke, and Rachel talking about mishaps. Answer the questions. 1. Which mishap is speaker describing? 2. Who describing? 2. Who mentioned the topic in the box below? Sugar, a first date, a station buffet, a formal dinner. A spoonful of mashed potato, a great aunt and uncle, a remote part of Wales, people wearing evening dress.
Thank you, Stephanie. Evening. Well, guys, we continue listening to these complicated mini problems that, well, let's call them mini problems. And in this case, we're going to listen to 3 people that Stephanie already read. The idea, guys, is that you're going to answer the questions and you're going to take some notes. Similar to what we did yesterday, then after we listen, I'm going to send you to breakout rooms to enrich the information because actually they are giving a lot of things, a lot of ideas about their mishaps. I would like to ask if you have any question related, could be about the instructions, or if you have any questions related to the vocabulary. No questions, no questions?
No, teacher.
That is great. Okay, guys, remember to take...
Spoonful.
You know what a spoon is, right? Only a spoon. I'm full, you know, that means that it is all covered or it has a lot of content, in this case of mashed potato. Cucharada.
Okay.
You know, actually, this word, it's very popular when we are talking about recipes. We find it like quite a lot in that context. Something else? Okay. All right, guys, we're going to listen twice. Remember, write down as many details as possible, as you can imagine, because they are talking about, let's say, funny stories related to their mishaps. They provide a lot of information. So it's not only like 2 or 3 words compared to other listening exercises that we've done so far. Actually, we have to write down a lot. We're going to listen twice in case, guys, that you consider that you need more, like 1 more time, like a 3rd time. Let's say that it is possible, you know, but you will let me know if that 3rd time is necessary. Let's listen.
Unit 3, recording 1. Claire.
This was really embarrassing. I was about 17 and this guy I really liked asked me out. And it wasn't the first time I'd been on a date, but it was like the first time I'd been on a date to a restaurant, and I was really nervous and excited, even though it was only a burger restaurant. Anyway, I ordered my burger, but I was so nervous and I was talking so much that I got confused and put sugar on my burger instead of salt. But I was too embarrassed to say anything, and I don't think he noticed, or if he did, he was too polite to say. So I had to sit there and eat this burger covered in sugar and pretend that I was enjoying it, and it was so disgusting. We did see each other again, but I never admitted what had happened. I just felt too silly.
Luke.
A few years ago, I had this job in a hotel for a few months, a kind of temporary job. Normally, I served in the bar, which was quite easy. But one day, after I'd been working at the hotel for a few weeks, they had a big dinner event and a lot of the waiters were sick. I don't know why, so they were a bit desperate and they asked me to wait on the tables. But I hadn't done any training as a waiter, so I was very nervous. It was quite a smart event. Everyone was wearing evening dress and it was all quite formal, so obviously I was feeling quite stressed. Anyway, I was serving vegetables at this table, mashed potato to be precise, and I had this big spoonful of mashed potato in my hand. Then suddenly, for no reason really, I kind of tripped and fell forward, and the mashed potato went flying off the spoon and landed on the shoulder of one of the women at the table. So there was this 60-year-old woman sitting in her best dress with a great big piece of mashed potato on her shoulder. I felt so humiliated.
Rachel.
There's a family story about my great-aunt and uncle, which sounds a bit like a bad comedy sketch, but apparently it's completely true. They lived in a remote part of Wales, and they were travelling to London for some reason, which was a big thing for them because they didn't travel much. Anyway, they'd been travelling for a few hours, and the train stopped at some station. And in those days, trains used to stop for quite a long time, and people got off and bought cups of tea and stuff. So my great-aunt got off. She wasn't wearing her coat or hat, and it was the middle of winter, and she went into the station buffet to buy 2 cups of tea. But unfortunately, she came back out through the wrong door onto the opposite platform and got onto another train, which was going back to Wales. Apparently, she was searching for my uncle for ages before she realised what she'd done, and of course he was going absolutely mad worrying about her. I think they stopped travelling completely after that. It was just too much for them.
Let's listen again.
Unit 3, Recording 1. Claire.
This was really embarrassing. I was about 17, and this guy I really liked asked me out. And it wasn't the first time I'd been on a date, but it was like the first time I'd been on a date to a restaurant, and I was really nervous and excited, even though it was only a burger restaurant. Anyway, I ordered my burger, but I was so nervous and I was talking so much that I got confused and put sugar on my burger instead of salt. But I was too embarrassed to say anything, and I don't think he noticed, or if he did, he was too polite to say. So I had to sit there and eat this burger covered in sugar and pretend that I was enjoying it, and it was so disgusting. We did see each other again, but I never admitted what had happened. I just felt too silly.
Luke.
A few years ago, I had this job in a hotel for a few months, a kind of temporary job. Normally I served in the bar, which was quite easy. But one day, after I'd been working at the hotel for a few weeks, they had a big dinner event and a lot of the waiters were sick. I don't know why, so they were a bit desperate and they asked me to wait on the tables. But I hadn't done any training as a waiter, so I was very nervous. It was quite a smart event. Everyone was wearing evening dress and it was all quite formal, so obviously I was feeling quite stressed. Anyway, I was serving vegetables at this table, mashed potato to be precise, and I had this big spoonful of mashed potato in my hand. Then suddenly, for no reason really, I kind of tripped and fell forward, and the mashed potato went flying off the spoon and landed on the shoulder of one of the women at the table. So there was this 60-year-old woman sitting in her best dress with a great big piece of mashed potato on her shoulder. I felt so humiliated.
Rachel.
There's a family story about my great-aunt and uncle, which sounds a bit like a bad comedy sketch, but apparently it's completely true. They lived in a remote part of Wales, and they were travelling to London for some reason, which was a big thing for them because they didn't travel much. Anyway, they'd been travelling for a few hours, and the train stopped at some station. And in those days, trains used to stop for quite a long time, and people got off and bought cups of tea and stuff. So my great-aunt got off. She wasn't wearing her coat or hat, and it was the middle of winter, and she went into the station buffet to buy 2 cups of tea. But unfortunately, she came back out through the wrong door onto the opposite platform and got onto another train, which was going back to Wales. Apparently, she was searching for my uncle for ages before she realised what she'd done. And of course, he was going absolutely mad worrying about her. I think they stopped travelling completely after that. It was just too much for them.
Okay, guys, we have already listened twice. I would like to know if you consider you have collected enough information to create that summary, sorry, from each mishap, or maybe you consider that you need one more time.
Yes, teacher, one more time for the last story, please.
Okay, Natalie, perfect.
Unit 3, Recording 1. Claire.
This was really embarrassing. I was about 17, and this guy I really liked asked me out. And it wasn't the first time I'd been on a date, but it was like the first time I'd been on a date to a restaurant, and I was really nervous and excited, even though it was only a burger restaurant. Anyway, I ordered my burger, but I was so nervous and I was talking so much that I got confused and put sugar on my burger instead of salt. But I was too embarrassed to say anything, and I don't think he noticed, or if he did, he was too polite to say. So I had to sit there and eat this burger covered in sugar and pretend that I was enjoying it, and it was so disgusting. We did see each other again, but I never admitted what had happened. I just felt too silly.
Luke.
A few years ago, I had this job in a hotel for a few months, a kind of temporary job. Normally, I served in the bar, which was quite easy. But one day, after I'd been working at the hotel for a few weeks, they had a big dinner event, and a lot of the waiters were sick. I don't know why, so they were a bit desperate and they asked me to wait on the tables. But I hadn't done any training as a waiter, so I was very nervous. It was quite a smart event. Everyone was wearing evening dress and it was all quite formal, so obviously I was feeling quite stressed. Anyway, I was serving vegetables at this table, mashed potato to be precise, and I had this big spoonful of mashed potato in my hand. Then suddenly, for no reason really, I kind of tripped and fell forward, and the mashed potato went flying off the spoon and landed on the shoulder of one of the women at the table. So there was this 60-year-old woman sitting in her best dress with a great big piece of mashed potato on her shoulder. I felt so humiliated.
Rachel.
There's a family story about my great aunt and uncle, which sounds a bit like a bad comedy sketch, but apparently it's completely true. They lived in a remote part of Wales, and they were travelling to London for some reason, which was a big thing for them because they didn't travel much. Anyway, they'd been travelling for a few hours, and the train stopped at some station. And in those days, trains used to stop for quite a long time, and people got off and bought cups of tea and stuff. So my great aunt got off. She wasn't wearing her coat or hat, and it was the middle of winter, and she went into the station buffet to buy 2 cups of tea. But unfortunately, she came back out through the wrong door onto the opposite platform and got onto another train, which was going back to Wales. Apparently, she was searching for my uncle for ages before she realised what she'd done. And of course, he was going absolutely mad worrying about her. I think they stopped travelling completely after that. It was just too much for them.
Okay, guys, very good. I want to send you to the breakout rooms. It's going to be like a kind of fast activity. Remember the idea. First of all, to answer these 2 questions, the mishap that they live, let's put it like that, and also the topics from these lists that are actually mentioned on that part. And of course, to create a mini short summary of what their story was about. Guys, I would like to know if you have any question, if the instruction is clear.
Yes, teacher.
Perfect. So let me create the groups. Mhm. Okay, I'm going to make sure that you can share a screen in case that you want to like write down some notes. Of course, I will ask all of you guys to participate in the summary created of the 3 stories. In total, you will have 12 minutes. Let's start.
Hello.
Hi, John. Did you have, I mean, it didn't like send the invitation like to go to the room?
I'm sorry, teacher. What did you say?
Yeah, like when I sent you to, well, everybody to breakout rooms, didn't it appear like on the screen?
Ah, yes. I was in a breakout room, but
There you are.
Teacher, sorry. Ay, no.
No, bueno.
Sí, teacher, sí. Pensé que estaba en el grupo, es que vi 3 y pensé que estaba en el grupo. ¿Me puedes
Okay.
cambiar a mi sala? Es que no me acuerdo qué número era.
Ese es el problema, Natalie, que cuando salen y vuelven a ingresar no me dicen qué sala estaban. ¿Recuerdan nombres?
Sí, estaba con Andrés. Andrés. Solo hay un Andrés, ¿no?
Sí, sí, sí. Ah, listo. En las 5 ya te envié.
Gracias, profe.
Welcome. Pues ya vamos a
Teacher,
terminar.
me to the group too, please.
Okay. Yeah, what about to
Thank
finish? Don't.
you. Okay,
Welcome.
thank you.
There you are. Well, guys, welcome back. I hope that you managed to share as many ideas as possible to enrich all the different notes that you took from the 3 different mishaps that were shared. Let's start. Let me begin with question number 2 from here. So we can like summarize the first question with part 2 on the same summary that you create. Who mentions the topics in the box below? Let's see. So Mayra Plata. Claire, which of these topics from this box does she mention in her story? Mayra? Well, I see her here, but I don't know if she's...
Yes, teacher, she
There you
was
are.
in our group. Yeah.
And there she is. Okay. Mayra, I was asking you like which of these topics were mentioned in the first, let's say, intervention that was made by
Teacher,
Claire.
I'm sorry, I can hear you.
What about now? Can you hear me now?
It's because
Well, now I can't hear you. The only part that I heard is because I and no more. Mayra, don't worry. I'm gonna ask someone else in the meantime. Maybe if there is something related to connection, hopefully it gets better like in a moment. So I'm going to ask then Andres.
Which teacher? First day?
From this vocabulary that we have in here, which aspects were mentioned by Claire?
Okay, station buffet was look, formal dinner look, sponsor potato look, greyhound, a greyhound and uncle.
Does Claire talk about a great aunt and uncle?
Me, teacher, I can help my partner.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Claire talk about sugar, a first
Mhm.
date, I think no more. Just
That
that.
would be it. Yes, that would be it. From the first intervention. Let me ask Freddie, what about the second person? It was Luke. Which of these, let's say, topics does he mention?
Luke, he felt, sorry, Luke, a formal dinner, a station buffet,
Okay.
people wearing evening dresses, a spoonful of mashed potatoes.
Okay. That's it, Freddie. Thank you very much. And of course, that means that for the final conversation, what Rachel was mentioning was a great aunt and uncle and remote part of Wales. That was one of the parts, guys, that you had, let's say, like to complete, but the idea was to somehow summarize the mishaps that they presented or they explained, adding as many details, hopefully, as possible. I would like to start with the first one. Remember that the first person was Claire. I'm going to have a look at group number 7. Angelica, in your group, which summary did you get from mishap number 1?
Sorry, teacher, can you repeat, please?
Yes. Could you summarize the first mishap, the one that Claire, let's say, told?
Okay. She talked about she feels confused in her first day, and he confused the sugar with the salt when she adds to her burger, and she tried to pretend that she liked sugar with burger in the burger.
That would be it. Thank you, Angelica. Daniela Lozada, something else to add, like what happened after the date, for example?
No, teacher.
Like the same? Or something
Yes.
extra like you collected in your group? Okay, that would be it. Any group, something extra that would like to add? Of course, Angelica was right, absolutely, but any other detail that maybe you want to share from what you listened?
Yes, teacher. She didn't say anything to this day, to her day.
Yeah.
She ate the burger because felt embarrassed and silly.
Yeah, like she kept that secret like forever. Thank you very much. Also for the extra details that you shared, guys. Andrea Vaca, what about Luke? Well, for the moment, it says only one person, but I know that you had other classmates working with you. So what's the story?
Yes, teacher. Well, Luke worked in a hotel. He normally served in the bar, but one day he had to wait on the tables. It was a big and smart event, and in a moment he had a big spoonful of mashed potato, and for no reason, the spoon landed on the shoulder of one of the women at the table, and he felt humiliated. Humiliated? Yes.
Okay. That would be it. Sorry for interruption, Andrea, my mistake. Continue.
No more, teacher.
Okay, very good. That actually is a pretty good summary. Christian, I would like to know if you have something extra to add to enrich Andrea's summary.
About look. Okay, he says that his job, sorry, in the hotel was a temporary job, nothing permanent. He doesn't say the date, I mean, in which years or in which age he had it. He says he says that he didn't have any kind of training being waiter, so because that was that accident.
Okay, Christian, very good. Thank you very much. And guys, something extra from another group that you would like to add in order to enrich what Andrea and Christian have just shared? Of course, it was pretty good, just in case you want to add something. Yes, Jennifer, I see that you opened your microphone.
Me, teacher. Yes. Look, the job that he have to do in the hotel was attending the bar, but the waiters that were contracted in the hotel, they were ill, so for that reason he have to work as a waiter.
But they were hired, not contracted, they were hired. Okay, Jennifer.
Yes, teacher, thanks.
Thank you. And I'm choosing a name to have a look at the third story. Sarai, what about Rachel?
What is the question, teacher?
The summary of Rachel's story, the final mission.
Okay, there's Rachel. I don't know if what I heard is correct, but was that
Don't worry.
Her aunt and uncle were in a train, and the train stopped for the passenger to rest because it was in a long trip. And when the train, when the people had to get him back, his hat fly with the wind. And no.
No, continue. No, I'm gonna let you continue. Don't worry.
The uncle.
And then he getting back on the wrong train. I don't know if that was.
There is a train. Okay, no, Sarai. Well, somehow, it wasn't the uncle, the one who got off the train. It was the aunt. Well, the part about the wind, like taking away the hat, I don't remember that part in the story. It looks like a very nice, like touch, for context, but I don't remember that part. Maybe my mistake. I've already heard that one so many times, but I haven't paid attention to that detail in particular. Let's ask another classmate for help, if you don't mind, Sarai, to enrich what you have already shared. Sylvia, let's help Sarai.
Well, his great aunt and uncle traveled to Wales to London, and they stopped for drink tea, a cup of tea. And then when they come back to the train, the great aunt brought to the great aunt go to another door in the opposite platform to the train and going back to Wales.
That was like the complicated mishap in her case. Well, talking about the aunt in particular. Something else you said that you would like to add to enrich Sylvia's summary?
No, teacher, basically the same. Just scared that the summer was winter. That's the reason. Like, she drink some tea or something like that, and she makes a mistake when she take the train because she take the train to Gales to come back to Gales.
To Wales. Mm-hmm. Well, guys, thank you very much. I know that this type of activity gets a little bit complicated, not because you are not able to do it, it's because all the details that we have, one, and second, like how to organize all the information, and specifically, sorry, because we are talking about different moments and different events from past. And that's precisely the idea of tonight's grammatical topic. Well, let me jump a little bit to the presentation. Am I already there? Yes, very good. Well, guys, as you remember from the beginning, I was telling you that the grammatical component that we are going to study tonight is talking about narrative tenses. When you listen to these two words, if we talk about narrative tenses, we are talking about tenses, as the name states, that are used to talk about the past, only past. In which, let's say, context or situations we can find it, or we're talking about stories. For example, personal anecdotes, or is this topic in particular that we are talking about mishaps, that we have to talk about like different moments of the story, talking about the where, the when, the feelings, the final result, how the let's say the situation impacted and how it finishes. So there are a lot of details to be included, and that is why we have to make use of different tenses. When we are talking about the narrative tenses, we are going to focus on the 4 ones that are, let's say, connected to past. We have already worked a lot with past simple. You already know the combination. We have regular and irregular verbs, of course. We are talking about as well as past continuous. We have past perfect simple, and we have past perfect continuous. What is the thing? That probably when we are talking about past, we feel very comfortable using only past simple. And you know, guys, that's actually okay. We can say whatever we want from our past in past simple, and we are not making any mistake. But because we're talking about the story, the idea is to make that narrative a little bit more, let's say, interesting, and to enrich it with other grammatical tenses. Of course, let's make sure that when we use them, it's because it's actually pertinent. Let's refresh our memory a little bit. Of course, you already know, we're talking about past simple, we're talking about an action that is completely finished, okay? For example, don't forget the regular verbs. I visited Italy last summer. Last year, I went to Korea. In this case, we're talking about an irregular verb. And in the case that we are creating a negative statement, of course, we have to use the auxiliary. Remember that auxiliaries in English are almost mandatory when we're talking about the general tenses. And you already know that then you don't have to make any transformation to the main verb. And as I was telling you, with past simple, we can say that we can cover everything that we want to say. But then our story or what we are telling will be way too plain. And guys, we're about to move to B.2. We can't or we shouldn't stay, let's say, on that comfort zone. The idea is like to move it a little bit. The other tense that probably we're really comfortable with, I dare to say it is past continuous. If in the previous one we were talking about actions that are completely finished, in this case, we're talking about actions that were in progress, but in past. Remember, guys, when we're talking about progress, it's because we're using the verbs with ing. Of course, that is not the only, let's say, component that we need when we are creating statements or ideas in terms of progress, because we always have to use the verb to be. It was raining yesterday. Kelly was studying English last night. The students were running in the classroom. Let's say that we have the forever difference. We're talking about singular in the case of was, and we're talking about plural in the case of were. We already know what happens with the pronoun you. It could be plural or singular, but the combination, sorry, will always be using were. The good thing is that when we have to create a negative statement, all that we have to do is to add not, and that would be it. That's all that we need to make a negative statement in past continuous. Then we keep on moving back, you know, like really, really back, let's put it like that, in a story that we are telling. And we're talking about past perfect. Past perfect usually goes even way back to past simple. Past perfect actually is used to enrich an event that we have in past simple, to give us a little bit of context and to place that event, let's say, on a time frame in a more specific moment. Let's have a look at this statement. It says, the train had departed by the time I go to the station. So notice, this is the main event. I got to the station, but what happened before? The train had departed. Let's say that thanks, you know, to this past perfect statement, we are enriching the idea that we have already stated in past simple. After Kelly had finished her homework, she played computer games. Once again, the event in past simple is going to be always the main event, you know, the one that is actually the one we care about, let's put it like that. But we're using past perfect to give more information. In this case, after she finished the homework, which means first she did the homework and then she played computer games. That is going to be the idea of past perfect. As I was telling you, probably we are not that familiar with it because it's a very, I wouldn't say complicated, but it's a complex tense. But in case, guys, that we want to include it, let's make sure that to give it like a better use it with an event in past simple to enrich the idea. And if we have past perfect, of course, we have past perfect continuous. So remember that past perfect goes even before than past simple. And in this case, we are talking about an event that was even before past, but talking about a progressive form. Remember, guys, once again, when we're talking about something progressive, we need the ing. And because in this case, we're talking about a perfect tense, we have to include the verb to be, in this case, using the past participle. I had been living in Italy for 5 years when I decided to move back home. Notice this whole combination. We need the auxiliary had, for it doesn't matter if it is plural or singular. We need the verb been because we will always need the verb to be to represent, you know, the continuous form. And then the ing to have a look at the progressive form. So notice that I, in this case, we're talking about Kelly or my father, all of them use had. Kelly had been exercising every day before she got injured. My father had been working at the same company since 1995. So going back to this slide, basically the idea is to enrich, to give, let's say, extra movement to our stories. And I always clarify this a lot. We can say whatever we want using past simple, and in terms of communication, it's just fine because you are conveying what you want to say. But the more tenses we use, the better level we have. That is basically the way to summarize it. So the idea, guys, is to include more because I know that you already do, but let's try to make extra use of the other tenses, more like, to be more specific, the perfect ones, the simple and the continuous. Remember to give extra movement to the stories that we want to tell. Guys, from this information that I have shared, do you have any questions? For the moment, we're focusing all our attention to the past. That's all that we, let's say, air quotations, care about tonight. The combination of the statements, how they are created. Tell me.
Teacher?
Yes.
The principal idea is always in what time tense we have to write.
Well, that always depends on your view. You know, in this case, specifically tonight, we are talking about events that already happened in our lives. Remember the first thing, that choose one of the mishaps and talk about the specific experience that you had, you know, because in some cases, probably you have already noticed that there are some writers that they prefer to use like their voice in present, you know, like the events are happening while they are, let's say, writing. For the moment, we're going to choose this perspective, you know, to share, to talk about experiences, but from a past voice. But at the end of the day, as a writer, you choose the tense that you want to present your ideas. And for the moment, we're going to focus on past. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. And tonight is all about the past. Notice the combinations, guys, and also what they want to say. If it is something that was in progression, something even before the past simple, and not only even before, but making it progressive. Maybe because I was thinking about a question from another group, like how different the simple and the continuous are. They are not really different. When we apply progression, it's just to give the perspective of movement of an activity. You can say I had studied, or I had been studying. At the end of the day, the main verb is study, you know, but what's the intention? To look it like it was a simple event or to show progression of the action. At the end of the day, you choose whatever suits better what you have in mind. Well, guys, we can talk about the tenses all that we want, but of course the idea is to put it into practice. Remember that at the beginning of the session, what we did was to choose one of the mishaps and to answer some questions about it. Remember what I told you, just very general aspects. For the moment, we only had 4 questions in here. Guys, this is going to be like the brainstorming part, as I was telling you. Don't add extra details for the moment. We only need the basic elements, like to refresh our memory about what the story is. Guys, what you're going to do now is you guys are going to add an extra box. This instruction is not in your slides, right? You had it until this. What you're going to do, I'm going to do it with Sarai's slide, just like for the sake of the instruction. You're going to add, guys, an extra box, okay? And you're going to write your story. This is my story. And now you are going to put together the different details where I have my mental issues. Okay. What you're going to do now is to put all the details together and you're going to share your story. Let me go back to the slide to have a look at the instruction. Make sure to use the 4 narrative tenses. Of course, let's say that past simple is the most evident one because the questions were in past simple. Let's include, you have already included past continuous. Remember that we already had a question that says, what were you doing when the mishap happened? Let's make sure that we can include past perfect and past perfect continuous. Guys, the maximum amount is going to be 100 words. Let's say that I am not going to tell you in which part you put past perfect, in which part you put past continuous, because it is your story. You decide like the movement of the events, you know, in your narrative. What I want you to keep in mind is that to make it more dynamic, make sure that you use the 4 tenses. And I will repeat it no matter how many times. We can say whatever we want in past simple, but let's make sure that we can put into practice the other tenses. The idea is to enrich the story, okay? Guys, do you have any questions?
No, for the moment, teacher.
No,
Okay.
teacher.
Sure,
You send again the link?
Sure, I'll send it again. Remember, guys, that you have to put your own box. You know, I didn't put it at the beginning, so I didn't want like to spoil the fun. So now you have to put your own box. Okay. Poor Mayra is having a lot of problems with her connection. There it is.
Thank you, teacher.
Okay. Well, guys, you already brainstormed the main idea. Some of you already started like giving extra details. Most of them are past simple, past continuous. So guys, remember first no. have a look at the information that you already created. Make or include that new box where you're going to tell your story, okay? Remember the idea, past simple, past continuous, past perfect continuous. Make it, okay, we are already starting including the box. Make it with, make sure, just I like to stop interrupting you because probably my voice is being annoying at this point. Make sure that the combinations make sense. It is not to put past perfect continuous just to put it to fill in that box. That when we read the story and you see that grammatical, let's say structure, you see that actually it's giving details to what you want to say. I'm going to, of course, it takes a lot of time, but I'm going to give you first 10 minutes. And then after those 10 minutes, I'm going to start having a look at the stories, okay? So I don't want to interrupt you anymore. Let's start. 100 words. 100, not 50, not 200. Keep that in mind, guys. 10 minutes for the first part starting now.
Teacher,
Yes.
how many ASEAN?
Mm-hmm. Well, I know that you haven't finished, but remember that I told you that I was going to give you 10 minutes of silence, that you could start like writing down your story, keeping in mind the use of the tenses. I'm going to choose some at random. It's 9:40, so I'm going to have a look at slide number 9. That is Stephanie's. Of course, this is not like the final, let's say, grade or something, just like to have a look at the ideas. I was on a bus for a classical question. A strange neighborhood. Okay, very good. Most of it is in past simple. At the end, you include past continued and also past perfect. Well, I'm sure that in general aspects, you have already, let's say, included what you wanted to include. Let's have a look at second reading to see if you can include past perfect and past perfect continuous at some point. Of course, as I was telling you guys, I can't tell you in which part of the story because it's your story. But now that you already finished, let's put it like you already finished, read it again to decide in which part you are going to include it, okay? But for the moment, it's pretty clear. The story is good, of course, but it makes more tenses, okay?
Okay, teacher.
Good, Stephanie. Uy, Silvia, edition. How many words do you have in your story?
I think that more than 100, but if I shorter, the story is not a good end.
Well, it is not like I'm lazy at reading, by the way, just like to clarify that part. Let's see if you can edit it a little bit, because otherwise it's going to be like, at least
Okay,
it looks
yeah.
250. No, I'm just kidding, probably 200, right? Around. But I know what you mean, that, okay, you have already shared your idea that if you eliminate certain parts, it's going to lose, like, those interesting key points of your story. I see your point. Well, I hope that you can make some addition from it. But I see your point. Of course, I respect your idea. Let's see Daniela Lozada. Okay, Daniela. For the moment, I don't know, probably this is like the first version. It's in past. I think that there are some parts where you can include past perfect. For example, in this section, remember that precisely the idea of past perfect is to give extra information. You can, instead of saying I left home, you can say I had left home, like providing context for the first part, which is why you missed the medical appointment. That would be one part to include it. I'm not gonna give you more, let's say, hints. But in general idea, like I see what you have already written. The story has like, you know, progress. And also you include past continuous. Hopefully you can also manage to include past perfect continuous and probably another past perfect. But good.
Okay.
And the idea is pretty clear, like the beginning and the ending. Let's go with another one. Mayra Pinzon. Let's have a look at yours. Mayra, when we use modals, then we can't change the verbs. Like, let's say that the modals block any transformation. So I could arrive. I already erased the D. I was ready quickly. Mayra, what do you mean by I was ready quickly? Iris here?
Yeah, teacher.
Okay.
Like prepare me. I don't know.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
I got it. I was as I could. Okay, yeah. I think it's my eyes. I got in a stuck traffic. Before day.
Yeah, teacher. I don't know how to say el anterior día.
We are not that far, the day before.
Yeah, okay.
And I had took, remember that we use the verbs in past participle. So took would be past simple. I had taken. That's the past participle of take.
Okay, teacher.
I thought that they, Fitfully. And I had to take an appointment with the dentist. Okay, very good. Let's see if we can include, I know that past perfect continuous is not an easy tense to include, Just notice that it is pretty much the same idea of past perfect, just to give, let's say, movement to that action that we want to describe. Because in some cases, maybe we may be thinking about how am I supposed to put that in my story? Think of something that needs to be shown as in terms of progression. Let's see. Andrea Julianes.
Yes, teacher.
You broke it.
Yeah, teacher.
Fortunately, after all these type of words, we always put a comma.
Okay.
It wasn't an endemic or okay. It says, okay, it will be like my final intervention. I thank God I dropped the, because second before I had in my hands a fossil that if it was endemic, can you imagine that I would have dropped that one?
No sé si de pronto cambiar el if por another word.
Como que se imagina si hubiera dejado
Se me
caer.
hubiera caído el endémico, yes.
Okay. So that would be, can you imagine if I had dropped?
If I, okay.
And then we can include another past perfect. If I had dropped, si hubiera dejado caer. That is another past perfect that you could include in your story.
Okay, thanks.
Perfect, Andrea. Thank you very much. Well, guys, I know that some of you are already working on your story. From what I just scanned, some of them are longer than the others. I know, and I understand Adriana's what? Andrea's point? Sylvia's? Yes, sorry. Brian?
Please, can you read mine?
Your slide is number 8?
Yes.
Okay, that will be the last one of tonight. Let's see.
I have some loops.
And because I wonder and dancing. I know it's a terrible idea when you have tried. In this case, Brian, because in that moment, remember that we're talking about an event that already happened. This would be present, but you mean past. In that moment, because my girlfriend and my ex broke up with me and I felt all my work and the same idea came down. Home is present. Nothing didn't matter. We don't really need the S because it's past. I was driving drunk and decided to play music at the stereo. It neglect. I don't get this. It neglect didn't let me. What do you mean?
Se descuida.
Okay. Entonces ahí sería that. Ese. Let me see, Metrolínea separaron. I crashed with it. Oh my God. Two left tires exploded and I got trapped in the Metroline's lane. Because I only had one replacement tire, I had to call my cousin and I borrowed her. It's not necessary to use capitalization here, replacement tire. All in this way, I could return home. And similar to what I was saying to, I don't remember, I guess it was Andrea. The modals already, let's say, block any type of grammatical transformation. So could return. Could is already the past one. Let's try to include past perfect. For example, in the first line, it said it was midnight. I was coming back from Piedecuesta because instead of saying I went there and drank some beers, you can say because I had drank some beers. Let's say that it is implicit that you were in Piedecuesta, right? So we don't have to put went there. And then you can say that that would be like the explanation of why you're coming back because you had drank beers in that place. And that is a good, let's say, a space to include past perfect. And well, you will see if there are other moments where you can include it.
Okay.
Okay, but of course
Very
the
good.
idea is clear, like let's say the events, how they are being presented. So just let's try to include the other tenses. Guys, remember that this activity will be like, let's say, available for you to make any changes or editings until tomorrow before we begin our session. And when I say before we begin our session, actually it's before when you guys begin class at 6 p.m. So I know that it's already late. If you probably tomorrow with fresh eyes want to add extra details and ideas, and of course the tenses, no problem. I won't grade it tomorrow. I will grade it during the weekend. Guys, I hope that most of you have already finished. That would be it for tonight. As usual, thank you very much and see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye, teacher. Bye.
Bye, teacher.
Take care, everybody.
Bye, teacher.